I'm Jim McCormick. I am the Business Development Manager for the Sage HRMS product. And joining me are Danny Martinez and Valeria Miller. They are field sales engineers for the HRMS product. Just a quick sound check and housekeeping. Steve, if you can confirm, or if somebody can confirm in the chat, that you all can hear me okay.
All good.
Okay, I'll take that as a good. Okay. And why am I not admitted? There we go. All right. So, we start. I know a lot of the folks attending the webinar today are Sage 300 customers, and you're attending because you've heard or may have a need for HRMS. But really, let me start by just letting you know, Sage has a human resources solution that will work with Sage 300 and will help you avoid risk, ensure compliance, and more importantly, link your employee data to your Sage 300 payroll. So it'll be a complete solution. Always like to start webinars and conversations around HR with a very simple question. What does your HR system look like today? And for most people, it comes down to something like this: Excel spreadsheets, paper files, multiple databases, sticky notes, basically a hodgepodge of information, and for most people, pure chaos. So our goal with Sage HRMS is to help you get better control of all of this information and centralize it. Let's talk about Sage HRMS, how we can take your data, make sure you're in compliance, and link to your current Sage 300 payroll software. So Steve mentioned at the very beginning, Sage HRMS is a very complete HR solution. We start in the middle with the Sage HRMS, and this is really the central point of all information. Contain all of the employee data, and we'll show you this a little later. But from there, we can connect to your Sage 300 for payroll. We can allow employees to be able to go online and view information, help get rid of a lot of the paperwork that you have, be that onboarding paperwork or just general paperwork for employees, and make those into paperless forms. We can look at time and attendance, performance management, and even recruiting options. So first question for this, especially because we have so many folks for using Sage 300 Payroll, is how does this work? So Sage 300 Payroll has a link that will allow us to connect the HR information and the payroll information. So we'll be able to update the information in Sage 300 Payroll with all of the employee information that you can maintain in Sage HR. And that includes pay information, benefits and the deductions, any time off that people are taking. And this data can be synchronized to Sage 300 on the schedule that you require. So if I look at just starting with the core HR, that main database of information, again, we go back to that earlier slide with the spreadsheets and the Excel and paper forms and all the other ways you're probably tracking information today. Core HR will allow you to put all the demographic information in one place, maintain HR status and their seniority, provide you information around current job and pay and job and pay history for each of your employees. You can monitor and track benefit plans, the details behind those, and the savings plan. We can help you with time off management. We can get into the workers' comp claims and OSHA reporting if that becomes necessary in your organization, track training information, and most of all, help you with the HR compliance. We all know that there's a lot of reporting that comes in from HR, including the ACA reporting, which many of you may be doing currently through Sage 300. We can help simplify that with HRMS. And then we can also create customizable screens. So if there are information that maybe you track about employees, it's very different than the standard information. And that could be even things like company property. Then all of this information for payroll links up to the Sage 300 payroll. I'm gonna start, this is really just a quick screenshot of the home page for the Sage HRMS. And this is a complete roster of all of the employees, so we can find people very quickly and easily and just select their information. From there, we can drill down, and everything is driven by user-friendly wizards and setup screens. Here I have an example of the payroll information, or the pay information for Veronica Bell. We can look at her current pay, what she gets per period, hours worked, and all of this will then transfer directly over to Sage 300 for when you run payroll. That's via the Sage 300 HRMS payroll link. So you can track this information, but also track cost centers and taxes and all of the other information that goes into managing and running your payroll. I mentioned earlier about letting employees see stuff. It's an employee self-service portal, something that we find helps employees become more engaged with the organization. What we've always found is when an employee is engaged, they feel that they're more important to the organization, and they become valued. That generally tends to lead to increased retention and thus decreasing the cost for turnover. When employees are engaged, they feel motivated to stay with the company, they feel respected, and they see possibilities for growth. And that's really what happens with the employee self-service portal. Here's an example of a couple of screenshots from the self-service portal. We can look at the benefit information. Take some of that paperwork off of your plates. Let the employees see what their benefits are. Not only what the their deductions, what they're paying, but also how much that you're paying as the employer. On the right-hand side, we have a similar layout, which is for mobile viewing on the smartphones. Oftentimes we have a situation, especially with when you're just running Sage 300, you have to distribute pay stubs, even if it's direct deposit employees. So we want to help you get out of that printing business, but also engage your employees. Let them become more self-sufficient. So we could actually take the pay stubs from Sage 300, put them up on the employee self-service portal, and now we get you out of the printing business. And if an employee comes knocking on payroll's door, which we know always happens, and says, I need my last 4 paychecks because, and a half hour later, they've told you what they're going to do and why they need 4 paychecks. Now we can just direct them straight to the self-service portal, and they can find those pay stubs that they need for themselves. Can also just find it on that bi-weekly basis after every pay period and get their information. Don't have to worry about lost emails or lost pay stubs. I mentioned earlier about paperless forms. Every organization has a tremendous amount of paper forms that employees complete. These could be onboarding forms, I-9, W-4, employee information forms, could be performance review forms. Imagine being able to take all of those paper forms that currently are sitting most likely in manila file folders and big black file cabinets and put them into an electronic format that the employees can easily access and can have a workflow associated to them, and then have them stored electronically in the employee's file. We have that capability to help streamline and organize your information. So kind of a quick wrap up here, or a bit of a wrap up. Some of the key benefits of looking at the Sage HRMS solution. We centralize the HR information into an on-premise database. All of that employee information is in one place. We can synchronize that to the Sage 300 payroll, so it's one seamless system. Multiple level user security. By connecting everything together and reducing all those spreadsheets and paper forms, we help reduce administrative errors and costs, avoid manual entry and duplications. We can identify costly benefits and work incidents by looking at the OSHA information. On-demand reporting. I'm sure many people have senior managers that come in and just want some kind of really quick information about their employees. That information can be pulled right at your fingertips as opposed to having to do a lot of research. Self-service portal, so employees can access information. And all of this translates to a return on your investment by engaging the employees. And very important, HR compliance, all of the reporting. One of those reports that everyone has to use is ACA reporting, Affordable Care Act reporting. Many of you are pulling that information from 300 right now, and then going up into Atrix and filling out the balance of the information. With Sage HRMS, we have a piece called My Workforce Analyzer that will allow you to enter the company information, view dashboards, and create the ACH forms literally in just a few mouse clicks. The dashboards can let you see where you stand as a large employer. Do you have part-time employees, maybe approaching hours where they require benefits? And you can do a lot of analysis on the systems. There's compliance reporting. You know, companies, when they reach a certain size, you have many forms you have to complete for the government. EEO-1 reports, vet reports. Internally, you may have turnover statistics that you want to read or compensation reports. All of these reports are standard reports in the HR solution. For those doing EEO-1 reporting, you know, you can think in terms of how many hours or days it takes to pull together an EEO-1 report. With HRMS, we can do that report in about 6 mouse clicks. Also want to mention, very important, as many of you know, EEO-1 reporting has a new component too that requires payroll data for 2017 and 18. That report is due September 30th. For the Sage HRMS product, that report will be delivered or that upgrade will be delivered on September 6th as a full software upgrade to ensure that you have enough time to electronically file the report. I'll also add, for those folks at the webinar who are Sage 300 and not have Sage and do not have Sage HRMS, the EEO-1 Component 2 reporting template will become available with the Q3 update to Sage 300, and reporting will be handled through Atrix. So Sage will be ensuring that you guys have that ability to run the compliance reports. So I've talked a lot and gone through a number of slides about Sage HRMS. So what I'd like to do is go into a little bit of a demo, and for that, I'd like to turn things over to my colleague, Danny Martinez. So Danny, I'll stop sharing, and you can take it from here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jim. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Danny Martinez. I am here. I work for Sage Software now for about 10 years. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Jim, is that visible there? Everyone can see that?
It looks great.
Looks good.
Wonderful. Thank you. Again, thank you folks for joining. Just a kind of quick high level just to show you this nice enhancement to your Sage 300 payroll software, your ERP software. You know, as Jim mentioned, you know, a lot of these different areas within the HRMS are all wizard driven. The screen that I have up here is actually the employee roster, where you folks will be able to view any of your active, any terminated records, anyone out on leave, or any other statuses that you have here built into the software. So how it works, team, when you dive in to an HR record, and I'll show you some of the nice areas that synchronize over to your payroll, you have quick access in this single point of truth to jump in at any time and see demographic information, you know, personal information. What I like to point out here is I am logged in as a master user. So essentially, team, I have, you know, access to everything here as an HR manager or a director. But if there are team members within your organization that only need to see particular areas within the core, we could definitely set up those securities and it could be monitored by the master user. But as you see, as I go into the software, I have access to HR status, you know, seniority level calculations here that, you know, automatically adjust when you're using the wizards, employment eligibility, so any I-9s, you know, supporting documentation against the I-9s. You know, there's other nice areas to track union, maybe some custom fields. You have termination data that you can track. So if I was using the Terminate wizard, I would update termination information on my employees. So as you see, you have all those records here along with the job history within your single point of truth in HRMS. Just to go into some of the screens here, you can monitor leave of absence, so maybe some FMLA, you know, different events, training, certifications. This is a wonderful feature here that would actually trigger alerts to you and the employees to let you folks know that, you know, items are coming due, what are the next step of action. You know, also attachments, you can upload resumes, supporting documentation within the software. contact information. So you see the personal record, and I can also jump into my job and pay. And, you know, folks, this is really the area where with that stage 300, they kept mentioning in the slides, a lot of this data here is synchronized along with the new hire and personal record information is synchronized into your stage 300 database. So this would really take precedence here. This would be your mothership of data. Everything would happen in here first. When that data is synchronized to your stage 300, it will now push that data into your payroll database and hire that employee over there, so you don't have to key the data in twice. So again, remember, this will kind of be your mothership with the synchronization, pushing all that data into payroll. So any rates to the regular pay codes, you know, payroll status information. You can also track pay and performance records. We have step rates within the software, and also too, current job details. So all of your job titles and job codes and, you know, employee types and different areas of EEO that you'd like to monitor, organization levels, manager and supervisor records. And the best part, team, is you have an HR software that houses all of your job history records. A lot of times, and I hear from many customers that are in the stage 300 or 100 world, this is very limited. Some reports have to be created. So now that you have this nice enhancement in HR, this mothership of data, again, you have all these job history records that you can report against. You know, some other nice areas, you can track insurance benefits. So all of your medical, dentals, and vision plans or company paid lives, you can track all of the coverages and also track the employer portion as well. The savings benefits. And what I'd like to point out, folks, is that this data here also flows into payroll. So any deduction codes that you have set up, these are mapped over there. So when you make the change over here, it syncs and updates all of the information on the payroll side of the house. You see dependents and beneficiaries, full HR suite. As you see, everything is in one place. There's wellness information. So maybe you're that organization that drug tests. You want to track conditions, you know, especially drivers or maybe hard machinery that you need to track these conditions, wellness information. And we also have the opportunity of setting up your time off plans. So if you have general PTO buckets or vacation, or you want to set up those FMLA plans, those rolling weeks, we can manage those balances here in HRMS. Now, if you have a safety officer in-house, you can give that particular individual access to this safety area where workers' compensation or OSHA details can be monitored. As you see, the layout is fully compliant with the forms, all of the detailed information that you can track here within the core database. Also career information. So any skills on your employees, you know, maybe you want to track, you know, if they're a manager, if they speak a different language, you know, maybe they're getting ready to get a promotion. You want to look at their skills according to the job. We have education. So maybe you want to know what, you know, college they graduated. This can also be internal education and maybe a previous employer if you're looking for a reference. As you see, the grids in the databases are huge. They can store multiple records here within the employee's HR record. You know, one of my favorite areas is the custom details. You can set up personalized screens, custom screens, according to your workflow or any paper forms that you folks are using that you kind of wish were in one area. Maybe those Excel spreadsheets. But just to kind of give you an example here, we can set up quick databases, very user-friendly. You can do this on your own. You can track cell phones, company equipment, company cars, laptops, you know, maybe uniform. Again, another nice feature to have here within the HRMS core. So folks, with that being said, I'd like to show you here the reports that come out of the box. You have different code table reports that you can run on your setup. You have those nice compensation reports, or maybe those salary analysis or turnover statistics. You want that salary history. They can be broken out by a standard criteria. So if you're looking to single out by org level, you can run those reports according to those criteria. We have EEO reports. And like Jim said, this particular EEO1 report will be updated come September 6th. So this software is fully compliant with those requirements. You have employee and organization reports. There are leave reports built into the software. We have OSHA reports. So again, if you have that safety officer or anyone who has to run those OSHA workers' compensation, we have a 308 summary and the capability of e-filing. There are personal information reports within the software. And if you're old-fashioned like I am and I want to get in there and run my own query, I can run a query and I can export this data out to Excel and make the necessary changes if I want to do that on my own with my own reporting. There are benefit reports built in. So those tables in the insurance plans, you can run benefit letters, insurance coverage details, census reports, COBRA billings. So again, the more data that you have set up in these records within the employees, you have this on-demand real-time reporting at your fingertips. Skill and education reports. And we also have wellness reports as well. Another thing that I like to point out within this software is any of the areas that have expirations or coming due dates or eligible dates, we have a mechanism that can alert. So anytime those databases are triggered, it is constantly monitoring those dates to where you folks in HR, maybe the managers and the supervisors, and the employees as well, can be notified with an email alert letting them know that something is coming due with the next step of action. Also, too, folks, in the connected services, we do have the feature. Jim was showing some slides regarding the ACA reporting. So another nice feature within the HRMS software, with the insurance benefits being populated and all of that data in detail in the insurance areas in HRMS, you're able to set up this nice tool with the employer benefits. We have the regulatory periods, the employee service and hours. All of these areas, folks, they get defined according to your organization to where you'll be able to come in and generate the forms right through the software. And there are look-back periods as well. Also, too, any of your EINs that are set up in the database, you'll have that available here in your dropdown. Because we all know that that's how the federal government wants it, by EIN for the reporting for the 1095s. But as you see, it is wizard-driven. I can come and review. I can overwrite forms. But just to give you an idea of what it looks like, we have the 1094C, which is the applicable large employer member, the ALE membership. Some of the details are already populated. You have the Part 2 information. There's also the Part 3. Again, all employer fields. And then if I jump over to the 1095C, I now have all of the detailed records on my employees. So the Part 1, demographic data. Part 2, which is the employee offer and coverage. And the Part 3, which is the covered individuals. What I like to point out using this tool, these forms will, essentially auto-populate with all the data. But the best part about it is that you come in, you review the forms, make sure there are no form errors, which it is smart enough to do for you. Now, if you have that relationship with Atrix, Atrix will take this file securely over the net and file on your behalf. They also offer packages to where maybe you want them to print mail and e-file. They also offer other packages as well too. If you have payroll taxes, the more you have with Atrix, the more they extend the discount to their customers. So just to point that out, again, as you see, it's right through the HRMS core. I'm going to close this down, folks, and I'd like to show you the employee-facing, which is the Sage HRMS, employee self-service. So a lot of that stuff they were showing you on the slide, as an organization, all of that HR data that you now have built into the HRMS core, you now have that visible to your employees online or on their smart devices so they can view, maybe update some data. But as you see here, I can come in and view some personal information. I can view address, data. Maybe I want to come in and change my phone number as an employee. As these employees are filling out these forms here online, the data will refresh and update your HRMS software. So you don't have to worry about emails, paper, text messages. any of that manual process to update your core database. That's because this information is updated by the employees. It can, go for an approval, and once that data is approved, it will update and refresh your core. These are some of the areas: education. You also have the ability to request time off and view balances. Also, too, they'll have access to compensation information and history. Jim was pointing out that one slide there with the payroll information. Huge benefit, major benefit to Sage 300 customers. Once you have processed that payroll, you can now publish these checks or these stubs, these direct deposit stubs, here online, so your employees can view the pay date with the wages, deductions, taxes, and their net pay, and they can download their stubs online. So team, again, a huge benefit. They won't bother anyone in HR, no bother to anyone in payroll. They have all this history here online. So if they're applying for a car loan or mortgage, essentially they can leave you folks alone because they have access to all that history here online. Even job information. So they have visibility into history, their job titles, maybe an org chart within the software, so they do have access to, immediate organization information. And also, too, we can turn this piece on here, which is called the Sage HRMS HR Actions. So another night to go completely paperless. This is an ideal area to allow your employees, especially those new hires, to come in here within the ESS, have all that nice HR and payroll information, and at the same time, fill out any required information that you folks have as an organization, like onboarding, I-9, W-4 information. Maybe if it was performance review time, we can have them fill out your appraisals here online. These are all electronic forms that when they come in, they access it quickly, and it'll download the form here online and pre-populate with some of the data. And now the employee will fill out the rest of the information. And the science behind this team is that the employee initiates the action, they save a copy of this. Now it gets routed to maybe someone in payroll, someone in HR, whoever the powers that be of the final review of this form. When these forms are approved, it saves a copy within the HR Actions database for audit purposes and history, but it also updates the fields within HRMS. And a lot of these forms work with your Sage 300, like the payroll direct deposit. So this information, if this employee came in here and filled out this data, these are mapped over to your Sage 300 and would update your EFT information once it is approved. So as you see, electronic form initiated by the employee, it's reviewed and saved by the administrator, and then those fields are mapped over to Sage 300 and will update the EFT section within the payroll. And folks, just think of the different areas. Again, I have all these particular menus open, but if it was a new hire, it would be onboarding, performance review time, maybe it's that time of the year for handbook acknowledgments, OSHA training, offboarding. Think of all your documentation in-house that is a manual process right now that you would like to recreate and build it here within the database and allow your employees to view the information, maybe download it, electronically sign off. But best part of the team is that they're filling everything electronically online with no paperwork. Now, team, I am looking at the time here. Jim, by any chance, any questions, Valerio or team?
Yeah, at this time, we can open up the chat option, or you can ask any questions in the Q&A portion. We'll wait a few minutes, see if any questions come in, and I'll read them out loud.
Sounds good.
There's one question that came and it says, will I be making updates in both HRMS and Sage 300 payroll?
So I can answer that. So if you acquire the Sage HRMS, which is the core module here, this core module will be it'll be the starting point, in other words. So again, as I mentioned, as a mothership, this is where you would hire the employee, you would add the benefits, put the pay rates, all of the general HR information. Once that employee is set up here in HRMS, it is now synchronized over to Sage 300. So no, there will not be any setup on that side. Maybe if there's some custom detail, but yes, this will push over into your Sage 300 database. It'll start here, it'll go into Sage 300, and then after that, I mean, maybe again, if you have some custom information, you would have to go in and fill out that data, but otherwise, all of this data is mapped over to your payroll. So you wouldn't have to do it twice.
Awesome, thank you. Another question that came in is there garnishment management capabilities?
So with the Sage 300, there is, we have an ISV, a partner, that does make a garnishment manager tool, and it is accessible for the Sage 300, yes.
Thanks. Another one that says, we have different plans for salary employees. Can we define multiple benefit plans?
Absolutely, and that's the nice part about the HRMS is that any of your plans, maybe it's an enterprise plan, maybe it's company specific, maybe it's for salaried or hourly, yes, you can define any type of plan. There is no limitation. So yes, you can set up multiple plans within the software. Maybe it's for salaried, hourly, and so on. So yes, you can.
Perfect. Also, another question. Can we add custom fields?
Absolutely. So in the HR core, and I highly encourage it, we can definitely set up some custom fields, maybe some company property. Maybe there's some internal forms that you'd like to track different, items on your employees. Absolutely. So out of the box, you have those hard-coded fields, but you can customize, what they call the custom details, where you can have an array of data within your employee records.
Perfect. Thank you. I think for now, that's all the questions we do have. I'm going to wrap it up. We do have another question that I'll probably take offline, so hold on to that one. So after that, so I will wrap it up. Again, guys, thank you for joining. If you guys have any additional questions, please feel free to email am@acumenfl.com, or you can give us a call at 407-965-2411. Thanks again. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Again, thanks everyone. Thanks, Danny. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.